Well, Faith Nwadishi is the Executive Director, Center for Transparency and Advocacy. She joins us tonight to look at some of the issues emanating from the just concluded AMAC election as the country looks ahead to 2027. Faith, glad to have you join me.
Thank you so much. Good evening.
Hey, you listen to that presentation. One thing stands out very clearly, distinctly, and that is voter apathy. Atiku's, he talked about the voter apathy, and some other people have talked about it. The question is, where do you lay the blame? We're talking about moving forward, 2027, just around the corner. Where do you lay the blame of voter apathy?
Thank you very much. Voter apathy really has been a very recurring problem within our electoral processes. So if you ask me why I lay the blame, I have two stakeholders I want to squarely lay that on. The first is the political class. They don't do enough voter education. So you go at, and then when you look at the assessment of voter education that has been done, you don't see political parties carrying out voter education. That should be one of their fundamental responsibilities. Ensure that you carry out voter education. Growing up as a young girl, I used to hear politicians say they go out for mosquito campaign, and when they do that mosquito campaign, they do voter education alongside it. At that time, you also see them going with formats of ballot paper, showing people how to thumbprint, where to thumbprint, and then making promises to the people. But what you see these days is that politicians rather go on social media to do voter education. Elections are not held on social media. I was in the communities before this election, educating people in the markets, and people were asking us for money before they could even sit down to hear us. Politicians were not there doing that voter education. Then the second stakeholder I want to look at and also hold responsible for the issue of voter education or voter apathy that we have is the National Orientation Agency. One of the mandates of the National Orientation Agency is actually to carry out civic education, even though the Electoral Act says INEC should carry out voter education, civic education as part of its responsibilities to get people ready. National Orientation Agency should take a lot of that, because if you go around the 744 local government areas, they tell you that they have officers at the local government area.
The NOA.
The NOA, they have officers at the local government area. The same thing with INEC. INEC has electoral officers across the 774 local government area. So a situation where you have a strong collaboration with INEC and National Orientation Agency. Now, let me shock you a little bit. In this last election, I saw INEC collaborating with civil society organizations, conducting civic education, voter education close to the election. But we didn't see National Orientation Agency. So when you ask, they keep saying, oh, we are underfunded. You go to the states to observe elections, even prior to the elections, you don't see National Orientation Agency on the field. You also don't see the political class on the field. So it is important to do that. If we have a robust civic education system or structure in the country, you don't wait a week or 2 weeks on election before you start voter education. And again, aside the fact that the politicians don't carry out voter education, sometimes they make promises that they never keep. So you make promises to the people, they come out, they line up, and they are waiting 4 years, 5 years down the line, depending on how the circle is, and they don't get a feel of what happened. There was one time, there was an election we had, 2019, everybody was so excited. In fact, 2015 election, we were so excited, we wanted that change, and people came out with 100 things for 100 days that the government would have to implement. And by 30 days, not one of that list had been ticked. So imagine when you had gone with the kind of expectations people had to say, oh, this is going to deliver. This particular political party is going to deliver. And at the end of the day, 4 years down the line, you don't have anybody delivering. It was also in this country, in one of the South states. I used to be a democracy monitor, one of the JDPC programs that we had then, when a governor didn't perform well, and his father, in campaigning for him, says that if you send a child to school and he fails, you should give that child another opportunity to repeat. So these are the kind of things we see. And over the years, it has turned out to be that citizens are not really interested in
listening to you. Are you exonerating, I've understood all that you said, and question of us, are you exonerating INEC. That's one from voter education. And then, from what you've said, the question of trust comes in, the question of fulfilling your promises, dividends of democracy. So, as you take that in your stride, what then should these stakeholders you've called be doing now? And then what should the populace do? Because you see, somebody says, if you don't come out to vote, when there's bad leadership, I've actually voted.
You have voted, exactly.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. So I am not exonerating INEC. INEC is trying to do its best in voter education, but I'm saying they don't start early enough.
Yeah.
They wait till it is close to the election before they start voter education. So we have just finished the FCT election. Ekiti election is coming on in June. We should actually have started voter education in Ekiti to get the people, roll out different programs, get the people involved. We see what they are doing with the CVR. Get as many people involved, go to communities. And one thing that happened within this FCT election, prior to the election, was also the engagement of community leaders and traditional rulers. You don't wait until you bring them to a stakeholders meeting. Go to their palaces and their communities. Give them this information. That was what we did. We went to palaces and you had traditional rulers saying, oh, there's going to be mosques. Some of those of them who are Muslims, they have a mosque within their vicinity. So they say, oh, when these people come, we are going to talk to our village heads. We're going to talk this. And they actually did that. So we need to change strategy. INEC perhaps needs to change strategy and ensure that we involve the community people. And then the other aspect of your question about what is it that we have to do, right? And then the populace. And the populace. If you don't vote, you vote. Yes. So the thing is that a lot of people don't know that where you have a right, you have a responsibility. And most times, the onus is on you to ensure that you discharge your responsibility. You do not blame another person when you have not discharged your responsibility. It is the responsibility of voters to get registered and come out to vote. It is the right of the voter to be voted in. It is the right of the voter. Like I say, the power to come out to vote is that power you activate to hire and fire. Yep. So, as a voter, you have that power to hire and fire. And that's why we have some of those requirements within our Constitution and Electoral Act about recall. But because citizens don't know that they sit on it, you don't know. For instance, if you're supposed to inherit property from either of your parents and you don't know that anybody can come out from anywhere to take it, but it is your responsibility to ensure that that's your property that you are inheriting from your father, you secure it. It is your responsibility to secure it. So it is the responsibility of voters to make sure that they come out to vote. And it is also the responsibility for parents. Like I give this classical example. When you're giving birth to between the ages of 0 to 17, it is the responsibility of your parents to ensure that you have a birth certificate. Yep. But as soon as you turn 18, it becomes your responsibility to be counted among the participants who decide who governs that place. And the first responsibility you do is to get registered. And that's why you cannot do it by proxy. You cannot do. There are people who are 50, 60 and they are proud to say, oh, I've never registered. That is reneging on your responsibility. Yeah. So we need to be able, even as parents, as part of the birthday presents we give to our children that turn 18, is to give them that education to say, you need to go and get registered. Come with your PVC and let me see. So you start that adulthood, transition into adulthood by ensuring that children understand that. Perhaps also we could also go back to schools. And, we love to do a lot of ID cards and things like that. So maybe a child is going to get admission into the university, for instance, and you say you're 18, you don't have a PVC, you have never participated in this process. It's something that people will go back to. So it's important that we do that. And citizens should know it is their responsibility to contribute to that process in the electoral process.
I must say, this is a very bullish discussion you've had. Quite a lot. I mean, that Nigerians, particularly even Nigerians, should do. If you say they're not giving you deliverables, go and vote them out. Exactly. If you don't want them. Exactly. If you want somebody else, go there and vote them in. Thank you so much, Faith Nwadishi, the Executive Director, Center for Transparency and Advocacy, for joining us on News 9.